I thought it was a congratulatory card, but it was a lawsuit. My parents didn't love me. They were just keeping a ledger of my expenses. The envelope was sitting on my kitchen counter. No return address. Just my name and my father's handwriting. Sharp and angular. I had just gotten back from my shift. I finally landed the lead architect position. The pay was good. I felt like a winner. I opened the envelope, expecting a cold, well done. Instead, a stack of papers fell out. On top was an Excel sheet. The header read, Project Silas, grand total. The number at the bottom made me stop breathing. $480,000. I flipped through the pages. It was everything. Food from 1998, school uniforms, braces, swimming lessons I hated. They kept receipts for 25 years. I sat down on a chair. My legs gave out. The phone rang. It was my mother. She didn't say hello. She just said one phrase. "We saw your new contract, Silas. It's time to pay up." She hung up before I could answer. The room started to spin. I stared at the phone for 10 minutes. The silence in the apartment felt heavy. I always knew our relationship was strained. My parents never hugged me without a reason. Every A in school bought me one day of silence. Every B brought lectures about wasted potential. But I thought it was just their parenting style. Strict, disciplined. I was wrong. It was a business plan. I picked up the second page. There was interest. They calculated inflation on my childhood lunches. I felt sick. This couldn't be legal. This was insanity. I dialed my father. The ring went on for a long time. Finally he answered. His voice was calm, businesslike. "Did you review the documents?" he asked. I yelled that this was crazy. That parents don't do this. He sighed. "We invested in an asset. The asset is now profitable. We want our dividends." He was talking about me like I was a rental property. I slammed the phone down and started pacing the room. I needed to think logically. I'm an architect. I solve problems. But this was beyond logic. I remembered last year. I refused to go to law school like they wanted. I chose architecture. They went silent for a month back then. Now I understood why. They were recalculating the risks. There was a knock on the door. It was too fast. I looked through the peephole. It was Corbett, my father's lawyer. I opened the door but kept the chain on. "Go away, Corbett," I said. He smiled, showing yellow teeth. "Silas, don't be a child. It's just a formality. Sign the payment schedule and we won't go to your new boss." The threat hung in the air. My boss was conservative. A family scandal could cost me my license. Corbett slid a thin folder through the crack in the door. "You have 24 hours, or we publish the other expenses." I shut the door and locked every lock. My hands were shaking as I opened Corbett's folder. Inside were receipts. There were transcripts of my therapy sessions. 3 years ago I saw a doctor for depression. I paid cash so my parents wouldn't find out. But the doctor was in a clinic owned by my father's partner. They knew everything. Every word about how I hated their control, how I feared my father. They highlighted phrases that sounded unstable, taken out of context. These words made me look like a dangerous lunatic. If this got to the architecture firm, my career was over. I build skyscrapers. No one trusts blueprints from someone unstable. This was blackmail, pure and distilled. They didn't just want money, they wanted total submission. I sat on the floor. I felt like a trapped animal. My phone pinged again, a text from Mom. "We expect you for dinner. Don't be late." I put on my best suit. If I'm going to war, I'm going to look dignified. My parents' house looked like a museum. Cold, clean, expensive. No personal photos. My mother met me at the door. She looked flawless. She kissed the air next to my cheek. "You look tired, Silas. You need more sleep to earn well." We walked into the dining room. Father was already at the head of the table. He was cutting a steak. The sound of the knife on porcelain was deafening. "Sit," he commanded. I remained standing. "I'm not paying," I said firmly. Father didn't even look up. "You will. Or do you think your fiancée, Elisa, will want to live with a bankrupt man?" The blood drained from my face. I hadn't told anyone about Elisa. We had only been dating for 3 months. "How do you know?" I whispered. Mother smiled, pouring wine. We hired a private investigator, dear. We have to protect our investments. They were watching me. Every move I made was under surveillance. Anger started to replace fear. You won't touch Elisa, I said. Father put down his knife. He wiped his lips with a napkin. That depends on you. 20% of your salary, monthly, for 15 years. Plus bonuses. And we leave the girl alone. It was slavery. They wanted to turn me into their ATM. And if I refuse? I asked. Father pulled out his phone. Then I send these photos to her parents. He showed the screen. It was photos of Elisa from college. A party. Nothing criminal, but her family was strictly religious. It would destroy her relationship with them. You're a monster, I said. I'm a businessman, he replied. And you are my product. I grabbed a chair. I wanted to smash that perfect table. But I knew violence was exactly what they needed for court. I turned and walked toward the exit. It was raining outside. I got in the car but didn't start the engine. I needed to call Elisa. Warn her. But what would I say? My parents are stalkers? I decided to drive to her place. On the way, my phone started exploding with notifications. It was the bank. Your account is frozen due to suspicious activity. I checked the app. Balance 0. Credit cards blocked. They were joint owners on my old student account, which was linked to my current one. I forgot to remove their access. They cleaned me out in the 10 minutes I was at their house. Now I didn't even have money for gas. I hit the steering wheel. They cut off my resources. It was a classic siege. I was downtown, no money, with blackmailers on my tail. I drove to Elisa's on fumes. I needed to be honest. It was my only chance. Elisa opened the door in her pajamas. She saw my face and knew immediately. Come in, she said. I told her everything. About the bill, the therapy, the photos. I expected her to be scared and kick me out. But Elisa was an auditor. She listened silently, her eyes narrowing. When I finished, she didn't cry. She went to her laptop. Your father thinks he's smart, she said. But he made a mistake. He transferred money from your account to his personal one, not a trust. I didn't understand what that meant. Elisa explained. It's theft. You have no written agreement with them about a debt. They just stole your money. She started typing. We won't defend Silas. We'll attack. But we need proof of blackmail. You need to get them to repeat the threats on tape. I went cold. I had to go back to that house. For the next 2 days, we lived on Elisa's savings. I bought a tiny voice recorder and sewed it into my shirt collar. I texted my father. I'm ready to sign. I need to discuss terms. He replied instantly. Tonight at 7 p.m. I felt like a spy in my own past. I entered that cold house again. This time Corbett was there. Documents lay on the table. Sensible choice, Father said. He poured me whiskey. I didn't touch it. I want guarantees, I said loudly. If I sign this and pay 20%, will you destroy the therapy records and Elisa's photos? Father laughed. Of course. We don't want dirt, we want money. Corbett chimed in. Once the first payment clears, we delete the files. And if I miss a payment? I asked. Then we destroy your reputation and your girlfriend's life, Father said clearly. The recorder caught every word. I signed the papers. My hand shook, but it was part of the act. Father looked pleased. He shook my hand. His palm was dry and hot. Welcome to the adult world, son, he said. I walked out of the house with a copy of the contract. Once in the car, I immediately pulled out the recorder. The audio was clear. I didn't drive home. I drove to the police station. Elisa was already waiting for me there with printouts of the bank transactions. We sat down with the detective. I played the recording. The officer's face changed as he listened. When the phrase about destroying lives played, he stopped the tape. That's extortion in the first degree, he said. Plus grand larceny. He looked at me. These are your parents? I nodded. Not anymore, I replied. The police issued a warrant within an hour. I didn't go to the arrest. I didn't want to see it. I sat in Elisa's apartment staring at the wall. I didn't pity them. I pitied the little boy who tried to be perfect so he would be loved. I realized there never was love. Only a business project. The phone rang. It was the detective. They're in custody. Your father tried to claim it was a family dispute. But the recording and bank transfer don't lie. Corbett was also detained as an accomplice. I felt empty. The next morning, the story leaked to the press. Father was a prominent figure in town. Headlines screamed, "Wealthy parents blackmail son." My phone was blowing up with calls from reporters. I turned it off. I needed to protect my career. I went to my boss myself, before he saw the news. I put a statement on my boss's desk. I told him everything. About the therapy. The blackmail. I hid nothing. He listened silently, twirling a pen. "Silas," he began. I braced myself to be fired. "Your parents are my clients, or rather they were." He stood up and walked to the window. "Your father tried to ruin my reputation 10 years ago. I know who he is." He turned to me. "You're an excellent architect. Your personal life is your business. But if the press comes here, we will say we fully support you." I almost fell off the chair. I expected judgment, but got an ally. That day, I regained access to my accounts. The bank reversed the stolen money since the transaction was flagged as fraudulent. I moved everything to a different bank. The trial was short. The evidence was undeniable. My parents' lawyer tried to present the contract as a joke and a teachable moment. But the judge wasn't laughing, especially when he heard the threats against Elisa. They got probation and a huge fine, plus a restraining order. They lost their business licenses and social status. Their friends turned their backs on them. After court, I saw them in the hallway. Mother looked 10 years older. She tried to approach. "Silas, we just wanted you to be successful," she said, in a crying voice. It was the final manipulation, an attempt to evoke pity. I looked at her and felt nothing. No anger, no love, just indifference. "I am successful," I said, "and I am free." A year has passed. Elisa and I got married. My parents weren't at the wedding, but the room was full of friends I used to keep at a distance out of fear. I still see a therapist, but now I don't hide it. Yesterday, I received a letter. It was a check from my parents' lawyer, the remainder of their court-ordered debt. I looked at that piece of paper and thought about what to do with it. I didn't want that money. It was dirty. I took a pen and wrote on the back, "Payment for the happy childhood I never had." I mailed the check to a charity for runaway teens. It was my final transaction with the family. The balance is settled. The asset is closed. I am no longer an investment. I am a human being. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel, like it, and click on the bell so you don't miss any more stories. See you soon.